Hello folks, Dave Lawrence here, and I just wanted to bring you some commentary once again about some of the things I've seen in the news and how it relates to the Occupy Wall Street movement. I heard a little blurb on the news earlier about a congressman, a senator from the state of Florida. I believe his name is Allen West, and he was commenting on Martin Luther King Jr. and the Occupy Wall Street movement, and that he felt that King would not have supported the Occupy Wall Street movement. The senator said that Martin Luther King Jr. was much more focused in his efforts and in the things that he tried to bring into being while he was an activist here in America, and that the Occupy Wall Street movement doesn't have that kind of focus, and that they really stand for different things, and again, in the senator's opinion. And I think if we just step back for a second, think about it, and look at history, and we see what King was doing at the time he was assassinated, he was preparing to support workers who were trying to unionize. I believe these were sanitation workers. So he was ready to put his life on the line, basically, to go and support these average working people that were trying to unionize. And I believe that the Occupy Wall Street movement has the same kind of idea, even though it may not necessarily be a singular focus on union representation. It is about equality. And we know that King definitely spoke about equality, and that all men are created equal. And I think that's the real focus, the main focus of what the Occupy Wall Street movement is trying to bring in here. As far as, it's probably more of a financial equality, though, in that we've got the 1%, the super rich, that are calling all the shots and helping to get politicians elected and put laws put in place, while the rest of us, 99%, just are supposed to just get in line and like it or lump it. And that just doesn't fly. I mean, that's not what America was created for. When we talk about financial equality, we're not speaking about redistribution of wealth. We're just talking about having laws in place specifically that keep the corporations and the bank in line. So I believe that Martin Luther King Jr. probably would have supported the Occupy Wall Street movement, just because it's based on fairness, opportunity, and equality for the average man, and not for the few and the rich and the privileged. I also heard another piece on the news about the banks and how a lot of the financial problems came into being because they were just bailed out. Again, the government, we're going back to the Bush administration, and some of this happened with Obama as well. But the banks and the insurance companies and the brokerage firms, they were all just handed money. There were no strings attached as to what they needed to do. I mean, there was nothing implied about renegotiating mortgages so that people could stay in their homes. None of the CEOs of these large corporations that made mistakes, none of these people lost their jobs. None of these people had to take a financial hit. They were just reimbursed for whatever their losses might have been. There was no negotiating on this. Hank Paulson just wrote it up on 3 sheets of paper, and the Congress and the Senate said, yeah, go do it. They start cutting checks to all these bankers and brokers and insurance companies. Maybe it would have made sense to go ahead and cut checks to the homeowners so that they could have stayed in their homes, or put some stipulations on the banks and the insurance companies on, we're settling this for 50 cents on the dollar or 75 cents on the dollar. And all of you smart guys that are at the top that put us in this position, all you guys get your walk-in papers, and you're not going to take all of your separation package money with you as you head out the door. This is more of the type of thing that probably would have made sense, but again, we didn't have real regulation happening, and we still have people thinking that regulation isn't what we need, that the banks should be left to their own devices and let them be creative and let them be innovative. But they're certainly not going to do that in a sense, to help the average homeowner stay in their home. It was mentioned that in the General Motors bailout, that bailout had some strings attached, and that the executive officers got the axe. They had to walk. I believe, I'm not sure, but they had to take less in their separation packages, and the board members, the shareholders, they didn't get 100% of their money back, because again, this was a company that wasn't run well. So why should the investors come out and make a profit? Those investors lost money, and I think that's the same way that should have happened with AIG and Goldman and some of the big banks, Bank of America, you name it, Merrill Lynch, and there's still a lot of problems there within Bank of America with the credit default swaps and some of these black box types of investments, and you still have congressmen and senators listening to these financial lobbyists saying, no, don't regulate us. And the Occupy Wall Street is saying, yes, you need to be regulated because all of our money is on the line. In other words, public money was put into these companies to save them. Our public money is at risk, but yet we have the few, the 1%, in those Wall Street banks, in those investment houses, that are still walking away with billions of dollars in bonuses. And that has got to stop. And that was my main point for bringing this commentary to you here today. Thanks for listening. Bye now.